What is up, guys? I am coming back from a long break, but it is time for me to start uploading again, and I'm starting off with a big one, a super efficient mob farm. This farm will give you about 10,000 items per hour, and it will also get you to level 50 in just under 1 hour. This is a late game farm though, so if you're early game, I'd recommend just building a witch farm if you're needing some gunpowder. Witch farms are really simple, and I have a tutorial for one right here. For the materials, you are going to need about 75 stacks of blocks. This is equivalent to about 2.5 shulker boxes. You will also need a full shulker box of scaffolding. You will need about a stack and 13 packed ice, 40 magma blocks, plenty of water buckets or water streams, 16 buttons, 1 piece of soul sand, and for the trident killers, you're going to need at least 2 tridents, ideally with impaling 5 on them, 2 slabs, 2 stairs, 6 repeaters, 2 droppers, 8 pistons, 8 observers, 2 levers. Also, ideally you want a looting 3 sword to be holding while the farm is running. This will multiply all the drops by looting 3. Once you've gotten all your materials ready, let's begin. Before we start building this farm, I want to go over some basic mob spawning mechanics. If you'd like to skip ahead, now would be the time. I'll put a little timestamp down here. These mechanics explain why the farm is so efficient though, so I'd recommend staying to learn. In Minecraft Bedrock Edition, there are different simulation distances. The most common one is 4, which you will see on realms, servers, and most single-player worlds. Therefore, that is the one this farm will be built for. This means that you will load up to 4 chunks away from you in every direction. It also means that the maximum distance away mobs can spawn from you is 42 blocks. If mobs go outside of that distance, they will despawn. This can be represented by the red sphere here. Now the green sphere on the inside is 24 block radius. This represents the minimum distance away for mobs to spawn. Any blocks between 24 and 42 blocks away from you allow mobs to spawn. Standing on this diamond block, the green and red spheres visualize the spawning radius for the mobs for my position. The next aspect of mob spawning is mob caps. In Bedrock Edition, there's a mob cap of 16 hostile mobs. Also, the world is split up into 16 by 16 chunks. Before spawning a mob, the game will check 4 chunks in every direction, and if there are 16 mobs nearby, the mob will not spawn. This means, if mobs are more than 4 chunks away from each other, they will be able to spawn and have 2 separate mob caps. This can be represented by the red blocks here and here. Using all of this information combined, we're going to make the spawning spot in between 2 chunks. This means that we can have 2 separate spawning caps, and as you can see, they are well within the spawning radius. I also realized after building this sphere that the despawn radius is actually 44 blocks, so I built the platforms an extra couple blocks out. We are now ready to begin building the farm. First and most importantly, make sure you have a good place to build this. Build at least 44 blocks away from any other structures, so all the mobs spawning will be inside of the farm. Also, don't build in a river biome, as mobs will not be able to spawn here. A good place to build this is over the ocean or high in the air. This is because on Bedrock Edition, unlike Java, mob spawning starts from the top of the world and moves down. In Java Edition, it starts from the bottom and moves up, which is why you'll often see Java farms built near Bedrock. So now the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out our chunk borders. This is because we want to build the farm on a chunk border. There are many ways to do this, and I'm using a texture pack. A simpler way is you can use your coordinates, divide them by 16, and on even numbers of 16, that's where the borders are going to be. As you can tell here, 1648 is divisible by 16, and I'm right on a chunk border. This means that on one side of the chunk, I'm on 1648, and on the other side, I am on 1647. Go ahead and replace one of these blocks with soul sand. This is where the items are going to be flowing to you at your AFK spot. Then pillar up 14 blocks on every side. This is going to be used to make a bubble column. At the top, build out a little platform for you to stand on, and make sure to put a roof on top of it with slabs, so phantoms won't spawn while you're AFKing. Another important thing to note about the AFK spawning platform is some mobs in hard difficulty will spawn with thorns armor. This will damage you over time and knock you around. So you can put up a little wall around the AFK platform if you plan on being there for long periods of time. If you're not in hard mode though, this is not a concern. Next, you're going to want to build out 34 blocks of ice on this side. Once you reach the end, build up a block and build a little square like this. Then go to the other side and build out 35 blocks this time. Once again, build a little square at the end of it. As you can see, if you've done this correctly, you should be 3 blocks into a chunk on both sides. Now you're going to want to put up walls on either side of this for the water streams to go. Now place water here, and place buttons inside of your water blocks if you are below the surface level. This is because glow squids will be able to spawn. Continue placing water streams until you reach the middle. Once again, you want to repeat this for both sides. Now go ahead and fill the bubble column with water. This will bring the items and XP up to the player. Next, we're going to place slabs on top of these blocks so mobs won't spawn on top of the water streams. And now we're ready to build the Trident killers. Place an observer here and a dropper here and make sure these are solid blocks. Now place a block here and a ring of blocks here. Then break this block and place a piston here. Now we're going to place repeaters, observers, and droppers in this pattern. Make sure that all the repeaters are on 2 ticks. This is so spiders can fall into the Trident killer. Also placing the last 2 pistons here and here. Now break this block and replace it with a stair facing this direction. Waterlog the stair so that all the items and XP will go toward this corner. You can now place a lever here and flick it once, and then wait for it to go around and flick it a second time and the clock will start moving. Now we want to throw in our tridents. Once again, repeat this whole thing on the other side but mirrored, and throw in your other tridents. You've now finished the trident killers. Now on this side, build out 3 magma blocks and 2 normal blocks and build up a wall 2 blocks high. Make this 2 wide. Then on the other side, build out 2 magma blocks and 2 normal blocks and once again build a 2 high wall. Now build up a wall by placing blocks here and here. Repeat this on both sides. Now build out 7 blocks in this direction and fill in this entire area. Do this on both sides. Now build a 2 high wall around the entire structure. You can put tinted glass on this, but don't use normal glass as light will come through. Now come back to the inside and replace these blocks with magma blocks. All the magma blocks are so the spiders will die because sometimes they'll jam up the farm. Now place water here and place buttons inside of it and buttons here to stop the water from flowing, and place the last 2 water here. Now we're going to fill this entire floor with scaffolding. Once you finish both sides, place water at the top on these places to push mobs to the center. Due to a weird mechanic, mobs can spawn inside of this and it'll push them immediately once they spawn. To finish off the layer, we're going to want to build a roof across all parts except the middle. Then you're going to build a 2 high wall around everything. Then you're going to place in your layer of scaffolding. And finally, you're going to place in your water. You're going to repeat this pattern until you have 6 layers completed, and it should look like this. Finally, we're going to cover up the whole thing with a roof, and make sure to place slabs or torches on top to spawn-proof it. You're now going to want to build this entire structure on the opposite side, and once finished, it should look like this. You've now completed the mob farm. Now the final step to run it is to grab your looting 3 sword, flip these levers off, climb up to the spawning platform, and AFK. Now if you plan on AFKing this for long periods of time, you're going to want a storage system because your inventory won't be able to hold all the items it produces. So build a ladder down here, and place a chest here with a hopper leading into it. And then place a hopper minecart on top of that to pick up the items. Make sure to block it in so it doesn't roll away. You can then make a stack of chests going downward like this, and connect them up with hoppers so the items will fill them up. You can always add more storage if you need to later by doing this. Finish connecting the ladder so you can easily access it, and if you want, you can make this ladder go all the way to the ground. You've now completely finished the farm and the storage. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.